Councilmember Robert White.
No.
Councilmember Robert White votes no. Councilmember Trayon White.
Yes.
Councilmember Trayon White votes yes. Going very slowly. Dramatic impact. Councilmember Allen.
Yes.
Councilmember Allen votes yes. Councilmember Bonds.
Yes, indeed.
Councilmember Bonds votes yes. Councilmember Felder.
Absolutely. Yes.
Councilmember Felder votes yes. Councilmember Fruman.
Yes.
Councilmember Fruman votes yes. Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson votes yes. Councilmember Lewis George.
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis George votes yes. Councilmember McDuffie.
Yes.
Councilmember McDuffie votes yes. Chairman Mendelson.
Yes.
Chairman Mendelson votes yes. Councilmember Nadeau.
No.
Councilmember Nadeau votes no. Councilmember Parker.
Yes.
Councilmember Parker votes yes. And Councilmember Pinto.
Yes.
Councilmember Pinto votes yes. Mr. Chairman, there are 11 yeses and 2 noes.
This is Will Montgomery, former Washington Redskins center.
Yo, what's good, folks? This is Trey Johnson, the headbanger, yo, and you're listening to Mess Hall with Rally Captain and Tailgate Ted. Word.
What's going on, everybody? Not your typical show opening. Today's not your typical show. We were supposed to record something yesterday. Unfortunately, I got stuck at the DC City Council office. What you guys just heard was them casting the vote to approve the RFK campus project. And what you're not seeing is my co-host and good friend Rally Captain beside me. Because of scheduling conflicts, we couldn't record the show yesterday, and we weren't going to be able to record one this evening, but we had to get one out. So I'm recording this right now. It is Thursday, let's just say early morning, and I wanted to make sure that we got something out for you guys because yesterday was a historic day. It was a momentous day for not only the city, but also for any Washington fan out there, regardless of what name you root for. It's just all burgundy and gold. And now the burgundy and gold are coming back to DC. So let me recap yesterday. I got to the council chamber. It's the Wilson building down in DC off of 14th Street at 9 a.m. They were set to start the hearing, let's just say 10:30 or so. So I wanted to get there early because I thought it'd be packed. And it was. It was definitely busy. It was a lot of people there, a lot of buzz. There were some people there opposing the stadium. There were some TV reporters there, and then a lot of DC residents there in favor of the stadium. It's 10:30. No one knows what's going on, but you can actually stream the DC Council in their meetings. So they are actually having a breakfast pre-meeting that we could watch. They decided to open the council chamber doors at roughly 11 o'clock when it was supposed to start, by the way. So we all file in. I get my seat right there in the middle, and I'm hanging out, talking to some of the team officials and some different, just, Washingtonians. And there was actually a guy from Virginia that came out that just really wanted to make sure that the stadium deal passed. I thought he was from DC. He wasn't even a Commanders fan. He just kind of wanted the deal to go through because he knew that it was right for the city. And we're just waiting and waiting. It's 12:30. And next thing I know, nothing's happening. So I pull up the breakfast meeting. They are still sitting in their chambers, deliberating and going back and forth. And what had happened earlier that day was the Washington Commanders sent a letter out to the DC Council. And this is what it read. Dear Chairman Mendelson and the members of the DC Council, the Washington Commanders write to express our deep concern regarding the last-minute new demands proposed by the council mere hours before the final vote on the Robert F. Kennedy Campus Redevelopment Act of 2025. The Commanders have committed to a once-in-a-generation $2.7 billion investment in the district's future, bringing thousands of jobs and catalyzing economic growth and opportunity. Our vision creates approximately 5,000 to 6,000 housing units, including at least 30% affordable housing. As labor union leaders for Metropolitan Washington Council, AFL-CIO, Baltimore, DC Building Trades, Unite Here Local 23 and 25, and 32BJ SEIU wrote yesterday in the Washington Business Journal, the Commanders' new home at the historic RFK site will represent one of the biggest wins for union workers in the district's history. In fact, the Commanders have already put millions of dollars into the site to prepare it for development. For several months, our teams worked in good faith with each council member to finalize this project. Just last month, an overwhelming majority of the council voted for this project, and we are proud to announce this deal with the mayor and the council. It reflected the widespread support from residents across the district who want to see more jobs, more opportunities, and celebrate their football team coming home. Less than 24 hours before the final vote, the Commanders organization was presented with a list of unworkable and impractical new last-minute demands by council members, which we simply cannot agree to as it jeopardizes the deal. Most demands were made verbally without supporting documentation. Given our deep engagement with the council over many months and our proven willingness to address any council member feedback, this is unexpected and unfortunate. Many of those proposals significantly impact our ability to deliver this project as envisioned and will restrict the value this project would deliver. These amendments could limit or even preclude construction, reduce RFK's ability to attend attract major events, limit the city's ability to deliver on its proposed housing, and hinder CBE participation in the project. Additionally, unions have stressed their discomfort with the proposed changes and are lobbying against any further amendments to the deal. Most do not want these amendments to impact our ability to deliver a world-class stadium with premier mixed-use development. In the interest of moving forward with one of the most impactful projects in Washington, D.C., we urge you to honor our core agreement from only 1 month ago and move forward with the final approval. Mark Klaus, Washington Commanders team president. So the team sent this out yesterday, and everyone's abuzz. What's going on? I'm there outside the chambers. We're there inside the chambers, and you can actually watch this breakfast meeting happening. Several council members who were a no vote, Robert White Jr., Fruman, and Nadeau, just were going back and forth talking about the amendments they want to bring up. To be clear, there were 13 new amendments that they wanted to discuss and bring up to this campus project. They could have passed any of these amendments and passed the project, but the Commanders might not have agreed to one of these amendments and could have said, you know what, thanks, but no thanks. We're doing something else. To be clear, I don't think the Commanders would have gone to Virginia. I don't think they would have gone to Maryland or anywhere else. I just honestly think if an amendment passed, for example, Robert White Jr., council member at large, proposed 5 amendments. He actually withdrew one of them, but all 4 of the amendments he proposed failed miserably. And one he withdrew because it counted on another one of the other amendments going through. But one amendment he proposed was to, if by 2050, a portion of the land is undeveloped, that DC were to take the land back. Council Chair Mendelson urged members not to support this. Councilmember McDuffie also urged people not to support this, so that there are already things in place that if the land is left vacant, then the team could be taxed. They could be hit in other ways as penalties. There are already tools there. And Council Chair Mendelson basically said that Robert White was looking for a problem that did not exist. And that's honestly what it felt like. And I don't go to these things every day, thank God. I hopefully will not go to one of these things in the near future or ever again. But it felt like grandstanding. It felt like these council members were trying to propose things and pitch things that just, I don't want to say don't matter, but that already have restrictions and rules in place to be taken care of. And one of them was something that was to be worked on 5 years down the road. And the council chairs were just saying, this is not something we have to tackle now and has any effect on this deal. So why are you bringing this up and trying to tack it on? The fact of the matter is some of these amendments, and I'm looking at this, they got proposed Tuesday night at 6:56 p.m., right? The fact of the matter is this thing was in its 11th hour, and you're now bringing this up at 6:56 p.m., and the team is just seeing this then. So I don't blame them for taking their stance and sending that letter the very next day. And I was live tweeting and kind of keeping everybody updated for what was going on. At a certain point, when they finished their breakfast meeting, which, by the way, it was now 1:30, so that's a super long breakfast, and me and a lot of other people were starving inside the council chair. Council Chair Mendelson and others ended up getting on a call with the Commanders. I stepped out of the council room, took an interview with Embassy 4, and they said, hey, they're talking with the Commanders right now. So I made sure everyone knew that that was happening. And rumor was things were going to go through, but we still had to go through all the hoops and jump through everything to hear all 13 of these amendments to see if somebody would actually get any of them approved. By my count, I think only one of them passed, and that was amendment by Councilmember Felder that talked about adding a $2 million annual fee for a community reinvestment fund. So I don't think that's something the Commanders had an issue with. All I know is the parts that the Commanders would have had a problem with, where they came out or just came through the grapevine, that they would have had an issue with these amendments, none of those went through. And the deal passed 11-2. The only people that not in favor of it were Nadeau, who was always going to be a no matter what, and Robert White Jr., who, frankly, I've got a problem with. But hey, that's a story for another pod and another day, and maybe next year when elections come up. But the team's coming home. Right? We're not 100% there yet. There's still some more hurdles that need to go through, but for all intents and purposes, this is now out of DC's hands. It goes to Congress. Congress has and I'm just looking through my tweets from yesterday. Congress has a 30-day review period. So once the mayor signs it, makes it official, Congress has a 30-day review window. Blocking anything would be rare. Now, granted, they did block a DC bill years ago in regards to the budget, but if they do nothing, it just goes through. After that, it's full steam ahead. And if any of you have driven by the RFK site, you can see they're working on this thing to make sure it is, in fact, going to be ready by 2030. And I, for one, cannot wait to be there for the groundbreaking when that first shovel is in the dirt. And I cannot wait to be there for, I'm assuming it's got to be week 1 of the NFL season in 2030. There's no way they make us week 2, right? After all this waiting and the pomp and circumstance, they can't make us wait another week. But I cannot wait to be there for the new RFK. And I know there's a lot of our listeners out there that are curious what's going to happen with PSLs, what's going to happen with tailgating. You know, where am I going to park? How's all this going to happen? Trust me, Rally and I are going to do what we can to be your voice, to raise your concerns with the organization and the proper people over there, to make sure that it doesn't fall on deaf ears. Because yes, tailgating is a concern, but for me, PSLs are even bigger a concern, because from a tailgating perspective, guys, we're resilient. We're going to find a way to tailgate. There might not be the exact same thing that we've been doing for the past 20 years at Northwest Stadium, but realistically, we'll find a way. We'll adapt. But just know that we're going to be fighting for you to make sure that everyone's questions are answered. And I do know that they said, you know, the last hearing I was in, that we should expect PSLs come 2026. Just know that I have been in contact with the organization to have a follow-up meeting regarding that, to talk about payment plans and things and messaging back to fans, because we deserve the right to just understand what's going on. And I want to make sure they understand from our perspective, hey, offering me a nosebleed seat when I've been sitting downstairs in my family's seats for almost 30 years does not constitute saving me money on a PSL, right? I get that they're going to want to keep premium seats downstairs. That's just what every team does. I'm looking hopefully to go to SoFi. Probably won't be able to make it, but who knows? But the lower bowl, particularly between the actual goal lines, is club level. So some of us that are in that lower area today might not be able to sit there just because that's the club section, or probably where the club section is going to be. And we might have to move up to maybe where our 200 level is now, or maybe where the 300 level is, the actual club level, because those PSLs are going to be cheaper because they won't be club. But just know that we're going to be your voice. And if you guys have something you want to get back to them, tweet us, message us, get a hold of us. Rally is at Rally Captain. I'm at Tailgate 10. You watch the show. odds are you know what our handles are. You know how to find us. You know how to get a hold of us. But I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about how yesterday went. And after the vote happened, I ended up having a couple cocktails with some of the people to just celebrate. Charles Mann was out there. He was actually, I think he was working at Monumental Sports doing construction for the Capital One Arena project. So he came in very incognito in jeans and a t-shirt and just went to go talk to Zachary Parker, Luis George, and another one of the council members just to tell him his support and why this needs to happen. And I'm not sure if that's what helped get it across the goal line, but I am sure that several of the council members talked multiple times about your phone calls, your emails, just reaching out. You guys made a difference. Our listeners made a difference. And thank you all for contacting them. You know, we put the bat signal out there for you guys and you answered. And you answered in droves. I actually had a council member's office call me and say, you can stop now. Right? This is not enough is enough, but the vote is over with. Everything's passed. And it actually passed with more members than the original one did. So I'm happy to say we're going to be back in DC, and best believe we're popping champagne at the tailgate that first week. And I hope you guys are all going to be there with me. But with that being said, I want to get into this matchup with the Raiders. Not sure what's going to happen this week, right? We got a tough test, and it's not tough specifically because it's the Raiders. It's tough because don't know who's going to be playing quarterback, right? The team has to designate someone to give a talk on Wednesdays. That is a quarterback. Typically, it's your starting quarterback. Well, yesterday, it was Marcus Mariota. Marcus ended up going to the podium, and it wasn't Jayden. Jayden was a DNP. We had a lot of guys on that DNP list. I'm not surprised. I think Eckler got a rest day. Tunsil got a rest day. Bobby Wagner got a rest day. My rebuttal is we hadn't played since Thursday. You really need a rest day? It seemed kind of odd to me that they got that, but hey, I mean, Coach Quinn knows what he's doing with these guys. The other guys that were DNP, John Bates, Noah Brown, and Jayden Daniels, right? And I really don't know if Jayden's going to play. I'm not too sure what's going to happen, but this is DQ talking about what the game plan is for Jayden for the rest of the week.
What is the plan for Jayden today and then the rest of the week?
Sure. So Jayden had a good rehab session today. He also threw out on the field. He won't practice today. And then as we get into Friday, I'll give you an assessment of where we're at after we go through practice on Friday.
So a lot of fans, a lot of shows have been debating, should he play? Should he play if he isn't at 100%? And should he just sit this week out? We get 17 games. 17 games to see who's the best of the best. So this isn't baseball where you have, 162? This isn't basketball where you got players are doing load management and just sitting out because, they want to take the day off. I'm sure there's other reasons, but it feels that way for me sometimes. It's why I gave up my Wizard season tickets. Well, one of many reasons. They're also horrible to watch and not a fun experience. But if Ted Leonsis hears that, hey, let him know. But I'm of the mindset of you got a couple things going for you. You've got an AFC team you're playing. So when it comes down to record in the end, it doesn't hurt as much because they're not an NFC team. Right? You have a tough matchup after this with the Chargers. Granted, once again, it's also an AFC team, but it's still a damn tough matchup against the Chargers. I think the Raiders, are going to be a heck of a lot easier competition than the Chargers. I am of the mindset of this is a marathon, it's not a sprint, right? If Jayden can get back to being even a couple percentage points healthier from not playing this week, I have faith that Marcus and the other guys on that roster can ultimately get us that W at the end of the day, right? And I know that's not a popular opinion. I know that there's some out there that are saying, I'll take Jayden at 70, 80% over 100% Marcus. I personally wouldn't. But what can you expect from Marcus? This is actually what DQ had to say about that.
with Marcus. You guys were slow in bringing him back, making sure he was back from the Achilles. From what you saw last year and what you've seen from him, the confidence level I know is high. What do you expect from him?
Yeah, if called upon, we would certainly expect Marcus to deliver in the fashion that he does. He has been like a real standard as a commander, player, teammate in elite ways. And so each player that we would feature, they'd be featured in not exactly the same way, although mobility for him and Jayden and, kind of coming up in similar styles, but not exactly the same also. So for all the guys, we have, ways that we'd feature them and how we would play if called upon, and that's what we'll do. But yeah, we have like the utmost confidence in him.
So Mariota had Achilles tendonitis, didn't do anything in training camp or the preseason. It was honestly kind of frustrating. They didn't really talk about it. They didn't really speak about it. And all you saw, or all you really assumed was, okay, Johnson and Hartman are just competing for that third spot. That's why Mariota's not getting anything. No, actually, that's probably why, one of the reasons, but he also had Achilles tendonitis. He didn't get any reps with the team. So we're back at that. He didn't get reps with the ones. Jayden didn't get a ton of reps with the ones. How rusty is he going to be? How rusty is this offense going to be? When Mariota did get called in, it was against, let's see here, last year. He came in the Cleveland game, the Browns game, the Panthers game, and the Cowboys game, right? His PFF grade for the Cowboys game was an 85. Oh, sorry, an 88, and the Carolina game was an 85. I mean, he stepped in, and he stepped in admirably. He did a heck of a job. But it is one thing to step in when you're the backup coming off the bench. It's another thing to step in when a team is game planning for you, and they know your tendencies, and they can devise schemes to combat that. Good news is Coach Quinn is not telling them who is going to be back on the field. But from his standpoint, he does need to see Jayden on the field this week before he's going to clear him to play on Sunday. This is actually DQ talking about what he has to see before he'll let 5 play.
Do you need to see him back on the field with the rest of the team?
Yes.
Before you feel okay?
Yeah, I would. It's important, timing, reps, the movements, but it was a good first step to it, Nikki. But yeah, we'd have to get some reps for sure.
So the injury report isn't out yet by the time I'm recording this on Thursday. So I don't know what Jayden's doing. I also don't know if a walkthrough on a Saturday is going to be sufficient enough for DQ to let 5 play if the doctors medically clear him. Right? He's talking about timing. You're not getting timing in a walkthrough. You're not going to get timing from guys just standing there and going at, a half pace. So we'll see what that means. But one thing that does concern me is, and Riley and I brought it up on the last show, Connerly Jr. What's he going to do? Is he going to be able to handle this Raiders pass rush? Is he going to be able to handle Maxx Crosby? And I had a lot of time to kill yesterday, sitting in those council chambers waiting for the meeting to start. I went back and looked at all of the film from the past 2 weeks of the Raiders, every single snap, slow motion, because let me tell you, I had a lot of time to kill. But I also went back to a couple games last year. And Crosby, he's not Micah, all right? No one is Micah. But he's maybe a couple tiers below. And this guy does not quit. And he does give me some concerns. This is actually DQ talking about Maxx Crosby.
As a defensive line expert, what would you say makes Maxx Crosby as effective as he is, and what's kind of adjustments do you need to make to account for him?
Yeah. I think the first 2 things that come to mind when I think of him, this is like elite effort. And like, okay, yeah, I've heard that a lot, but I'm saying it's at the upper range of it where he can, his stamina to go hard over and over again. He's got great bend. By that, I mean he can slip and slide in between a tight end, a tackle, and then the skill work of it. He loves pass rush like Vaughn, and so for those two, kind of doing the pass rush summit, there's a level of studying and preparation. Instincts, I would say, are a big part of that, but man, do I love the first step quickness and just the absolute dog of a competitor. Sometimes you don't win on the first move, and you have to stay relentless, and that is absolutely been part of his career.
Crosby has a motor does not quit. This guy, I don't know if he just chugged a bunch of synergies right before the game or before every defensive drive he's out there on. But when you think a play is done, he just comes out of nowhere. I mean, he just constantly is running and moving and just never stops his feet. And I'm concerned about him going up against Connerly, right? If we don't have John Bates this week, who was a DNP, right? And you know what? Let DQ talk about John Bates' status for this week.
John Bates is also experiencing injury. Any update on him, and if he does have to be out, how do you all have to fill that void from his blocking ability?
Yeah, we all know how John's so rare in that way on the blocking side. So it wouldn't be in exactly the same way, like just plug and play into that spot. I feel like we're pretty diverse in how we would have to go after it, but it would be something that would be difficult in that spot. We'll see where we look like by Friday. Like I said, as I'm going through with John, I'm in that same spot of where are we? We're going to make good decisions for the guys, and they're working hard. Having the extra time is helpful, meaning like a longer, time in between the two games. But there's a couple that I'm still in the wait and see mode and position-specific work. Then we'll get into, tomorrow. Today we're going to be indoors. Many, did things through the walkthrough, and then see where we are tomorrow. So I'm still on a wait and see with a couple of guys.
Earlier this past Monday, Coach said that he did not think that Bates and Noah were going to play. It concerns me, right? We have a weakness at our offensive line. I want Wiley to start. Coach saying it's a competition. If Connerly has beat out Wiley, then that is concerning. I don't know if I believe that 1,000%, that Connerly has beaten out Wiley. I think they're maybe just letting him sharpen his teeth. But right now, he's putting our offense at risk, right? We have an issue. We are missing one of the best blocking tight ends in the league, and we have a right tackle, a rookie right tackle, who is going up against some world beaters. And we got to give him some help. Bill is going to get RB1, most likely, right? C-Rod is going to be out there. You're going to have McNichols. How is Bill in pass protection? How is he picking up a blitz? Right? How is he going to handle that pressure coming off that side? Crosby also lines up in different spots, right? He doesn't just stick directly over the right tackle. I saw a couple times he's over the left tackle. I mean, Tunsil jumped last week when Micah was in front of him, had a false start penalty. Right? The guy wreaks havoc, not at the same degree, but right now, the way our offense is running, which is very poorly, it doesn't have to be at the same degree for him to cause a difference. If John can't go, I want to see Trent Scott out there. I want to see him lined up as an extra tackle to help chip, to help do something, because we have got to get this running game going. We have got to get it off the ground if we want to walk out of Northwest Stadium with a win. If we want to head out to LA, go out to the West Coast to be up 1. Right? If you looked at the first 4 games this season, I mean, some would think that we could potentially be 3-1. I didn't think that we would go 4-0. I got to go back and look at Rally Night's prediction, but 3-1 would be phenomenal. If we lose this week and we go out to LA, there's a good possibility we could be 1-3. The Chargers are no joke. The Chargers are a heck of a team, and they beat the Chiefs, and they crushed the Raiders, right? It was a horrible game for Geno. Geno threw 3 picks. So not even getting into their offense and how inept it's been, but I don't believe in them. I want us to dominate this thing from the start to the end, and let's just run this ball and ground pound it and give Jayden another week to actually get healthy. If I go back and look at that Chargers game, a majority of Herbert's passes were from play action. And let's see here, 91% he actually ended up getting were play action passes, right? He did a damn good job, and that just led to the fact that the Chargers had a good run game, right? You got to keep their defense on their toes. The Raiders run, shocker, something that we have an issue with, a predominant zone scheme. Approximately 67% of their snaps are in zone. Guess who else ran a zone scheme? The Packers. Packers ran zone, and we did not do anything to try and combat it. I really feel that that is an issue with the play calling we had last week against Green Bay. And this scattering report isn't new. That's just what they do. That's how they game plan. Same thing for Green Bay. We need Kingsbury to step it up and put some zone beaters in there. And finally, when they adjust, we put some man beaters in there. I don't feel that our coaching staff has adapted to what other people have done to adapt to us, because we have tendencies. Other teams have tendencies. And I got this from ChatGPT, right? You can sit here and find all these different tendencies out. If I can find this stuff, best believe they can find this. So there should be a game plan in place to make this an easier win heading into this week. The spread dropped from 6.5 to 3.5, depending on where you end up getting your numbers. And believe it or not, NFL has us only dropped one spot from a power ranking perspective. Looking at this, we were 7th last week. It's got us at 8th now. It actually says Jayden Daniels' availability for week 3 is now up in the air after he suffered a knee sprain against the Packers. Per NFL Network insiders Ian Rappaport and Mike Garafolo, the injury rekindles concerns about his pass protection. The Commanders have faced 2 good pass rushing teams, and the results have been decidedly mixed. Another concerning pass rusher is on the schedule in week 3, with the Raiders' Maxx Crosby coming to town. And Washington might have to turn to Marcus Mariota to start against his old team. The Commanders invested major resources in upgrading the O-line this offseason, but the results have yet to pay off. They also need to get Terry McLaurin going after he caught 7 passes for 75 yards on 13 targets in the first 2 games. Maybe he's still ramping up after missing a chunk of training camp during his hold in. If Daniel's injury is a 1-week thing, perhaps the panic meter remains low, but Washington has 4 out of 5 games on the road thereafter, and the team is dealing with multiple offensive issues. Right. The pass protection is a problem. Guess what offensive linemen don't like doing? Just pass protecting and sitting on their heels. Guess what they would rather do any day of the week? Run block. We got to run the damn ball, right? You guys saw something in Bill. Feed him. Give him the ball. Give him the carries. Let him work, right? Throw C-Rod in there. You kept Chris Rodriguez on the roster for a reason. I understand he was a healthy scratch last week, and he was a ton of last season. Stop scratching him. Give him a chance. Make this easier on Mariota and Jayden if he's in there, and soften up that defense. Make them have to worry about that run. The way you attack a pass rusher is you run at them. This way they're running at that ball carrier and not sure what's happening. Run at them with that play action pass. Makes them slow down their pass rush. Right? These things are just, it's football 101. And heading into this week, look, a lot of fans are automatically thinking this is a dub. I'm sorry. I don't know if I can agree with you. The Raiders beat the Pats in week 1, 20-13. Right? They got a linebacker there, Jamal Adams. The guy's a stud. Right? And guess what? They're coming here. What we have on our favor is the Raiders played Monday night, and they're traveling from the West Coast to the East Coast. It's a short week. So maybe their battery is going to be a little bit empty. Maybe we're going to have an advantage in the fourth quarter because they haven't got a ton of rest. But the fact of the matter is they do have some studs on their team. Brock Bowers, who is not 100%, but he is a stud tight end. The guy can just flat out ball. And after what happened last week with Kraft going up against our linebackers and our defense, it concerns me. DQ has some concerns about facing the Raiders as well. Let's hear it from him.
Hey, Coach.
Hey,
in
Don.
looking at the Raiders, what comes to mind first in facing them? Geno Smith is under the center. What do you see in that team?
Yeah, there's a lot to like. They have, obviously, talk about Geno, like he's got one of the strongest arms, like can absolutely rip the ball. I think they got really good tight end group. They've got speed and route runners at receiver. I think an excellent running back, especially in terms of breaking tackles. So when you put all those together, run game, tight ends, receivers, strong arm quarterback, you can see that's what I thought of first. And then on the D side, I like, the ends, the rushers that they have. Kuntz is back. They've got veteran, strong linebackers down there that are inside, a safety that we know well, and Chin, who's just down in the box and tackling well. So when you look at them, you see, okay, featuring players, identity, style, attitude, and a lot to like, in terms of who they are, and certainly with the running back and the tight end, like these are some really talented guys, who are young guys just kind of on their way up. So we'll have our hands full.
They're NFL players. They're pros. They get paid too. So any of you thinking this is going to be an easy win against Oakland, stop fooling yourselves. Our team has not proven right now that it's the same team that we watched last season, I'm going to have some concerns, especially if we've got a quarterback, a franchise quarterback in Jayden who we don't know is going to play, especially if we are missing a key component of our offense, John Bates, especially if we've got a rookie right tackle out there who has not proved that he can actually do the job yet. Riley and I each week talk about who needs to step up for us to get this W. Who needs to step up this week to make sure that he and I are both walking out, and all of you that are listening, walking out of Northwest Stadium with a smile, right? I want to light a victory cigar. I didn't get to light one this past week against the Packers. I was going to sit on my deck with my fire pit at 1 o'clock in the morning and smoke that victory cigar. It's still waiting to be lit. For me this week, the only way I get a chance to light that is if the running game gets moving, if the big boys up front do their job, earn their paycheck, and actually block, right? We need to move this ball. We are 33% on third down. It's not acceptable. Not by any means, right? Josh Connerly, badass, whoever is out there, I need you guys to step up this week and make sure that you protect Jayden or Marcus or whoever's throwing that ball, and make sure you open up some running lanes for Bill, C-Rod, McNichol, whoever it may be. Because if we control that line of scrimmage, we win this game on Sunday. I'm taking us to win. I think we cover this spread. If you guys bet 3.5, the 6-point spread scared me, right? Especially with Jayden being hurt. Luckily it dropped, but I am thinking we pull this off this week, and then we fly out to LA and take on a tough Chargers team. But we'll worry about that another time. We are planning on having Riley back for the next one, but we want to make sure we got this out to you guys just because of the momentous thing that happened in history yesterday for this team and for this city. And we'd be remiss if we didn't celebrate that with you guys. It's going to be a crazy one. We're in for some fun next couple of months, next couple of years as they start announcing more stuff at the stadium. But I hope to see you guys out at Northwest. I know Riley's going to be making his rounds in all the tailgate lots. Make sure you tell him what's up, pass him a shot. But for those of you listening, I'd use his trademark, but I don't want to have to pay him any money. I appreciate it, guys. Take care.